in the Mina Valentin Show with our host, Mina Valentine.
Yeah, I
Yeah, and guess
remember.
what? You're going to talk about today is how you became a writer. So talk about that story.
Where do you want me to start? Once upon a time,
Yeah.
I've always been a writer, but I didn't know it. When I was little, I guess maybe in first or second grade, I would write poems and I'd write stories. And I had my Barbie and my Ken doll, and I'd make up stories with the two of them. And I still have some of those poems I wrote. Boy, they're really bad. But I was a little kid. And then school got in the way. And with all my degrees, I I didn't have much time to even think about fiction because I was academic writer. But when I got my one PhD, I started helping others that were trying to write, help them with their papers. And so I've got the language down. But when we moved up here, I didn't have my friends or family or anything like that around. So I thought, you know what? This is a really good time for me to try and write. And so I started writing and I can't seem to stop.
So a lot later, you decide to write after you've written so many books as a PhD, right? You've written textbooks, right? Or not textbooks, but research papers.
Right.
What do they want you to do when you're a university professor?
What then? Yeah, it's publish or perish. And that's the way that goes. Not so much anymore, unless you were at one of the more prestigious. Of course, I never went to Columbia or Harvard or Yale, but the schools where I worked and I was a dean, they did expect you to write. It didn't necessarily have to be a tome, but either your critique on a research paper or something like that. But I did a lot of that.
But when you retired is when you decided to write books.
Well, I didn't retire. I quit working. There's a difference. And you know what? I got married and my husband, he said, I didn't move to Texas, marry you so I could sit here all day while you went to work. And so I put in my resignation and they were sick about it. Oh my gosh. And so the head of the school called me on the phone, said, "You can't quit." I said, "No, I have to because I have a husband now and he's got to be my first priority." And she said, "Divorce him." I said, "I can't divorce him. I just married him." So we moved up here. He hated Texas. It was too hot for him. He's a Yankee boy. And I wasn't going to move north. So Tennessee was the best compromise. And it is a good compromise. It's worked out well here. When you're older, when you get past 30, I think it's hard to make new friends because everybody's already established. And I don't mean established in a house, but their life is established. Their friendships are established. And it's hard to make new friends. Although I belong to a book club, so that's good. But I'm far away from my close friends in Texas. And it's hard to get somebody to come
So
and
where
see
in Texas did you live?
Dallas. I was born and raised in Dallas.
Dallas. Okay. And he didn't like the heat in Dallas. I love Dallas.
I do too. And there's so many great places to eat.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And Tex-Mex. I miss Tex-Mex because well, living anywhere other than Texas, maybe Arkansas or Louisiana, someplace like that, it's hard to find Tex-Mex. Here where I'm living now, there's a huge population of Guatemalans, and they fix it's not necessarily Mexican food, some semblance of that, but
Yeah.
it's not Tex-Mex. You get, I was born and raised with that. So it's hard to find a decent place to eat for Tex-Mex. I need a fix, so I have to go home. My sister did send me tamales from El Paso once for Christmas. That was good.
And I think Dallas is probably the best place in Texas to live out of the big cities.
Oh, yeah. But I had a beautiful, a huge, beautiful condo. It was right on Preston Road, North Dallas.
And I know where Preston Road is.
Yeah. And the traffic.
Wasn't Preston near Plano?
Yes. Yeah. It goes up into Plano. Yeah. Yeah. You know where LBJ is?
Yeah.
Okay. It was probably less than a mile from LBJ on Preston
Okay.
at the country club.
Oh, okay. That's pretty ritzy.
Yeah, that's where I lived. And the bad thing is there wasn't a light there, although Prestonwood Country Club had tried to get a light there. So by the time I left, they still had not been able to get a light. But trying to make a left-hand turn onto Preston from there was like,
No, you got to love the roundabouts in
Yeah.
Texas.
yeah, it was tough. And he hated the traffic because he wasn't from a city where there was a lot of traffic. And so he hated the traffic and he hated the heat.
Oh man, I love the heat. That was
Um,
unbelievable. Except maybe in the summer, you got to leave. It's
yeah,
120 degrees, forget it. All right. So that's when you started your writing career in
yes,
not Dallas, started in Dallas, but really started writing in Tennessee.
that's right. Yeah. And I started putting stories together and then took a few courses on how a book is structured and then just started writing. I'd always had a story in my head, even when I was very young, about my grandmother and grandfather. My grandfather, my mother's parents, he was a big man. He was probably 6'4.5", 6'5", broad shoulders, narrow hips, dark hair, dark eyes. And he left home. He left Virginia and went into Dallas, and he was on his Indian motorcycle. He had an Indian motorcycle, and it broke down in downtown Dallas. And so he was arrested for being a vagrant. And back then, you could work your way out by doing road work and things like that, which is something they all ought to do. I know some states do, most of them don't anymore, but they should. Anyway, he was working, had his shirt off, and he was working. And this woman, she drove by. She had a chauffeur-driven limousine, and she drove by, and then she had the driver go around the block again, and she stopped and asked the policeman, she said, "What is he in jail for?" And he said, "Vagrancy." And she paid to get him out of jail, and he kinda lived with her for a period of time. He had a colorful past, but he was very good looking, so the women always gooed over him. But my grandmother, she was like a model for Neiman Marcus, something like that. And he saw her and then he had to have her. That was it. He had to have her. And she was teetering on 5 feet. She wore a size
And how tall is he?
about 6'5".
Okay.
It was the silliest looking thing. Like your situation.
Vanessa's 5'1" and I'm 6'10". So
Yeah.
there you go.
But Vanessa's cute. And my grandmother was adorable, and she had big boobs, and he said the first thing he noticed about her was her big boobs, but he said, "Don't ever tell your grandmother I said that."
So where's this story going in writing?
Those two characters are in my very first book of the Four Horsemen series. This one.
That's them.
That's them. That he saw her and had to find out who she was. And that's pretty much the story there. that, and Granny was smart, but she talked in riddles sometimes. And I find myself doing that. My brain goes faster than my mouth does sometimes. And I'll pick up conversations that I've had in 1 or 2 days and think it was recent. And I expect everybody to understand what I'm talking about. I think my husband's finally catching on a little bit about that. It is challenging.
That's the academic brain. It moves
Yeah.
faster than you speak, and
Yeah,
that's okay.
it is okay. It has to be okay because that's the way I am. And I know a lot of things about a lot of things. My degrees are so varied, but then when you look at the full scope of them, I guess they've always been in some kind of health care of some kind because I've got a master's in psychology. I worked as a volunteer as a kind of a counselor for the prosecuting attorney's office, victim witness. I did that. I worked at a rape counseling center.
Oh,
That's
wow.
awful. But I have so many people that have influenced my life, either for the good or for the bad, and I get to put them in my books.
All right, so you keep creating characters.
That's right. Yeah.
And so far, how many books are out?
Oh, actually, there's only 3 out, but I've finished 9 books. But 4 of them in the Four Horsemen series, they're done, but we're waiting on the cover for book 4. So that kinda sucks because it's
We can get the cover done in 2 seconds, just have to, put your mind to it.
I know. I but one of my beta readers told me that the first part of book 4, she said it broke her heart, but it has a very happy ending. But I'm wondering if maybe I should put a warning on the beginning of it.
So what do you think you've learned most as a writer?
That I've learned. The writing in itself is not difficult for me, but it's the everything else. It's the formatting, it's the editing, it's the marketing, and I was never aware of the extent of the necessity for marketing.
I also found out you can't trust publishers. Give you an example. Someone buys your book, but doesn't download the ebook from Amazon, you don't get paid, even if they bought it.
Isn't that awful?
So
don't
this is why I believe in selling your own books on a website and sending them.
Right. Yeah.
Autographed copies of Mina Valentin's book can be available soon if you're interested in that. We'll set up the store. Then, okay, and you get all the data. When you sell in your own store, you get all the data. When you use a third party to sell your stuff, you don't get the data.
No, no. And there's so many other places, and you and I talked about this before, but and I can't, and I have gone through every one. I write my notes and stuff on things like this, and then I have a script book that I use for each book, and I keep all that. But anyway, I've gone through every one of these. I have 6 of these, and I can't find the notes that I wrote from a lecture I heard somewhere about all these different websites where you can go and sell your books.
I believe it's all, can't trust them. I would self-fulfill and mail your own books because you have the satisfaction when you see all these books. So when book 4 is available in pre-order and you sell it direct, you buy it from Amazon, have a bunch shipped to you, then you sell them, trust me, that's going to be the power of it because you can't trust Amazon.
I know. Amazon, and I think they're trying to get away from that too. They're making things so difficult. But there are other websites where you get 80 or 90% of your book sale. And
Just hope they tell the truth. That's the
yeah,
problem.
yeah.
That's right. All right. So
They
go to MinaValentine.com, purchase a book on Amazon. Just get the ebook. Hit us up and appreciate it. And we will talk
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah, we
Okay.
will.
All right,
Okay.
that's a special simulcast Neil Haley Show and the Mina Valentin Show, guys. Take care.